Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. While you're at it, make sure you enable notifications in YouTube so you're notified every time a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast gets posted. While you're at it, if you're sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 every year for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable. Available now to all Facebook users, and it's totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like Mike and Lansdale, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast today and sign up. Don't forget we have loyalty rewards. If you are a $15 a month contributor, you can co-host an episode with myself. Or if you are a $7.50 a month contributor, you get entered into a drawing to also host an episode of Going Live, one of our Saturday night shows. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast, where we have tons to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. We'll get to that in a moment. If you're new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, you've never been here before, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you head over to our website at frowrestling.com, where we have all the topics and news tidbits of the day that we're going to discuss in our next episode. You can look at those, get some ideas for questions, comments, and concerns that you can tune into the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line. Call in to 267-642-1160, where you can leave those questions and comments. Make sure you give us your name so we can give you credit for your questions on the broadcast, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can throughout our shows. So, all that being said, there's so much going on, and the big breaking news tonight was that Becky Lynch, after putting on what can only be described as one of the best angles of the year, maybe of the last couple years, the invasion of Raw, Becky Lynch shows up, lays out the Raw Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey. She looks amazing and very strong, and I would argue she looks like more of a legitimate contender to Rousey than Charlotte Flair, and that's saying something considering that the organization is looking at possibly doing the Charlotte versus Rousey match at WrestleMania. I'm actually thinking that it would be better to do Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey because of how much heat they're getting for this matchup. And the frustrating thing is the news breaking today was that Becky Lynch is now off the Survivor Series card. Last night, while her invasion angle and all the SmackDown women showed up, Becky Lynch got a legitimate nose break and she got a concussion. So she is not going to be cleared to compete at Survivor Series. Now, it's kind of a bittersweet thing. So first off, the way she broke her nose is by taking a stiff shot from Nia Jax. You can look online. There's actually fans who have the hit on camera where Nia is being attacked and Becky Lynch goes up and hits her a few times. She turns around, she slugs Becky right in the face, and it shattered her nose. So that's one of the problems, which has led to the conversation about whether or not Nia Jax has backstage heat. And apparently she does have some heat backstage because of how amazingly over this match was. This was going to be the match that everybody wanted to see at Survivor Series, and now the match is off the card. Becky Lynch will not be cleared because of their concussion protocol. They have to be careful, so she is not going to be able to perform at Survivor Series, but this may be a good thing. Now, I'm not trying to dump on the match. I think the match is going to be amazing, and the way they've built it, this is the most organic character development I've seen in WWE since maybe even more so than the original push of Braun Strowman. This is going back far. Becky Lynch is as over with the fans as anybody I've seen in many, many years. And the reality is if you really want to have a women's championship match headline WrestleMania and you want to draw in the most fans, Charlotte Flair is probably the best athlete in the female division. However, Becky Lynch is the biggest star right now in all of wrestling. I said that. She's bigger than AJ Styles. She's bigger than Braun Strowman. She's bigger than Brock Lesnar. She's bigger than Okada. She may even be bigger than Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody. That's how over she is. And if she is off television for an extended period of time, They can transition the SmackDown Women's Championship off of Becky Lynch in some fashion. Maybe it's just to vacate it due to non-defense or something of that nature. You know they can pull that card whenever they want to, even though they forget about it for Brock Lesnar. If they pull that card and somehow transition that championship to somebody else, Becky Lynch can return at the Royal Rumble, win the Royal Rumble, and go on to face Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania in what would easily be a much bigger draw, at least right now, than the Charlotte Flair match. And if depending on how they book things, you could also have the Charlotte Flair Ronda Rousey stuff done at Royal Rumble instead. If you have Charlotte step up and take Becky's place at Survivor Series, there's a whole lot of different ways you could do this. Maybe the Charlotte Flair thing needs to happen sooner than later, and maybe Becky Lynch is the one who should headline WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey. Let's move on to our next tidbit. There was conversation online about Paige. Rumor was out there floating around that Paige had been cleared for a WWE return. That is not the case. She made it clear on social media this week that it is 100% false. If she takes one more bump the wrong way, she could have permanent paralysis, and that's not something she's interested in. As much as she would love to get back in the ring, and she would love for that opportunity, it is not in the cards for her. And unfortunately, those rumors, the fake news that people talk about nowadays with all the politics, it happens in wrestling even more so. Paige not returning to WWE. Does Braun Strowman have backstage heat? Well, the word is, originally they thought he had some backstage heat. Now they're saying, he's got an issue with showing up on time, leaving a little bit early, things of that nature. They're saying that might have contributed to why they went back to Brock Lesnar as Universal Champion, that Braun Strowman isn't necessarily as reliable as Brock Lesnar. Think about that for a moment. The guy who only has to show up 4 times a year is more reliable than the guy who shows up 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. I find that fascinating that that's the opinion that they would have of him. It's a whole lot easier to show up every day on time when you only show up 4 days a year. Braun Strowman, bigger guy. His knees apparently are shot. He really needs some time off. I don't suspect that he'll take any time off. But now the question turns to, when is he going to get his Universal Championship opportunity? And the word now is that Braun Strowman is going to face Baron Corbin at TLC, and then will go on to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble for the Universal Championship. And I will be honest with you, I expect Braun Strowman to lose at the Royal Rumble. I think Brock Lesnar keeps this championship until WrestleMania, and this year, kind of the way it was supposed to be last year, is when Brock Lesnar will finally be defeated for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania, and I think he will be defeated by Batista. We'll have to keep our eyes on that to see if that's what they plan on having happen, but it sounds like something that I think would be a very legitimate thing to do. I know there was talk before the leukemia situation with Roman Reigns that The Rock was going to come in and he was going to challenge Roman Reigns. I think that's obviously going to be put off. That doesn't mean The Rock may not make an appearance. Maybe The Rock can show up and dethrone Brock Lesnar, considering Brock took the belt off of The Rock years ago, never had a rematch. I'd be okay with seeing that. And then maybe if Roman is cleared in time, maybe The Rock could drop the belt back to Roman Reigns. I don't know. Maybe that's a SummerSlam thing. We'll have to keep our eyes on that as well. El Rey Network is in the news this week, and Lucha Underground, because the final episode of the season aired. It's a great product for the people who watch Lucha Underground. No one is ever disappointed. Everybody enjoys what they see. The problem is not enough people are watching. The ratings for the El Rey Network and Lucha Underground have dropped by almost 60% over the last 2 years. The original season was drawing 300,000 or more fans per week, and now we're down to like 100, 120,000 fans, and it's making it so El Rey may not be renewing it for a 5th season, and that's a problem. And I'm going to tell you why. I feel like Lucha Underground was a fantastic, very different product for the wrestling business. It gave people who don't get an opportunity elsewhere the opportunity to shine on a national television stage. And it was just one more opportunity to cultivate new talent that then filters into places like Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. Yes, a few go to WWE, but it's more about what it does for Impact and Ring of Honor. Now, if you eliminate that from the equation, that's less talent development. WWE, with their Performance Center, already cultivates the best talent in the world, or at least debatably the best talent in the world. It would be nice for El Rey and Lucha Underground to continue their working relationship and fully fund the program for a 5th season, just so we can see what they do with some of the most innovative characters. Marty the Moth, he's their Lucha Underground champion. What are they going to do with him? There's so much more to be done with these characters. Johnny Mundo, all those different things that they could be doing. We need to see where these characters go. And if we don't get a 5th season, that just simply isn't going to happen. Another tidbit that was in the news this week, Chris Jericho and the amount of money that he was paid for the Greatest Royal Rumble has been revealed. Apparently, Jericho was paid a full $100,000 just for his Greatest Royal Rumble appearance. That's a ton of money when you consider he was only in the Greatest Royal Rumble for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Getting paid $100,000, good coin. I would love to know what amounts of money were paid to people for going to Crown Jewel, because with all the political strife in this situation, people had to have gotten paid more money. New Japan, last week it broke that Tetsuya Naito was approached by WWE after New Japan Dominion about a contract offer, that he turned that contract offer down. Well, now the word is out there that there are 2 other high-profile New Japan talents that WWE has approached. So high profile that they will not even explain who those people are. Those people aren't coming out and telling anyone, which tells me there is, where there's smoke, there's fire. Sounds like WWE is putting out some serious offers to New Japan talent. Now, here's the reality. Shinsuke Nakamura has been a complete bust since he made it to the main roster. I was okay with what he did in NXT, but a bust on the main roster. And that has to play into the decision-making process of the New Japan stars. If they're not going to be booked in a way that makes them look as strong as they are in New Japan, why would you come here? Just for the money? I mean, WWE would have to make a substantial offer to some of these people. For example, Kazuchika Okada. It was estimated that he made $2 million last year, and that's not the kind of money WWE typically offers a new star to the company. They always talk, the big catchphrase is they offer opportunities, not guarantees. I don't see WWE offering any kind of guarantee of a $2 million range to Okada to come to WWE. However, if somehow they convinced him to come, I would give any amount of money to see Okada face someone like Seth Rollins in a WWE ring. I'd like to see what they can do. I'd also like WWE Creative to back off and let them put together a classic. But we'll have to wait and see. Rumor has it some of these contracts with New Japan stars are coming due at the beginning of the new year as well, just like the Young Bucks, just like Cody, just like everybody, like Kenny Omega, all those guys. Other New Japan stars also coming due at the same time. So if we start seeing people, say at Wrestle Kingdom or shows like that, suddenly getting defeated by people they typically wouldn't. For example, if Okada gets completely dismantled by Jay White, I would suspect that Okada would be leaving for WWE. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure there'll be spoilers out there and the rumor mill will be flying, and maybe we'll find out some more information in the near future. But in the meantime, just know WWE is definitely star hunting in the New Japan water. CM Punk has a new deal. Cage Fury Fighting Championship has signed him to be a color commentator, an announcer for their program. I think it's a good transition for him. Yes, I would love for him to come back to professional wrestling, but it's obvious that ship has sailed. For one reason or another, most professional wrestlers are so thankful to their fans that they continue to give back long after they probably should and well past when they should leave the wrestling business. CM Punk left at a very young age. He has so much more he could be contributing to the profession that made him what he is. Let's face it. If Phil Brooks walked into an MMA training center, he still would have never made it to a match. He's not good enough. UFC allowed him to have 2 fights because of his name brand recognition, which was not cultivated in his years in IWA Mid-South. It wasn't because of his time in Ring of Honor. It wasn't because of his time in TNA wrestling. It was because of the reputation he built in the WWE. Now, I understand there was a talk and conversation at the Jericho Cruise and in other times about how CM Punk was never really a locker room leader, how Booker T was, very much not in awe of CM Punk. That there was actually a conversation at one point a few years back where, CM Punk was like, as the locker room leader, don't leave your trash on the floor. And Booker T literally threw his trash on the floor and said, he ain't making me pick up my trash. The level of disrespect is mind-boggling. But you still have to know that he had so much more he could have contributed. Even during his 400 and whatever day run as champion, it was kind of the feeling backstage was, or at least according to Chris Jericho, is that he was doing that, they were doing that just so somebody was a placeholder so The Rock could win the championship and then lose it to John Cena in the twice-in-a-lifetime match at WrestleMania. And as much as I believe all that, I still think Punk would have been much more of a contributor to the wrestling business than he can ever be in the mixed martial arts world. You can find people who can talk almost anywhere. You can't find people who can wrestle at his level just anywhere. And I'm kind of frustrated. I'm a huge CM Punk fan, but I'm frustrated. He's a great talker and all those things. But when you're as good as you are and as young as you are, I understand to each his own. If he wants to walk away and retire, that's fine. But the way he went out is almost an indictment on his legacy. What legacy does he really leave on the wrestling world? A 400-something day WWE champion? Well, that's great, but how do you brag about that when you complain about the company that allowed you to have that reign? You know, what is it that is going to be reflected on? When people think about CM Punk, are they really going to think back to when he was, in the Straight Edge Society feuding with Rey Mysterio? Are they going to think back to his matches with John Cena? Are they going to think about the pipe bomb? Maybe. His arguments with Triple H? Maybe. His feud with, big sexy Kevin Nash? Probably not. They're going to remember CM Punk walking out on WWE. His trial with Dr. Amann and all those things. That's what fans are going to remember the most about CM Punk. I wonder if a lot of the people chanting CM Punk in Chicago and other cities around the world even remember a lot of CM Punk's career. The things they remember is that they're angry that WWE took away their star. Well, guess what? WWE didn't take your star. WWE made your star. He was an independent wrestler until WWE scooped him up. They showcased him on ECW. They moved him to the main roster. They made him the World Heavyweight Champion, a Money in the Bank cash-in winner, a multi-time WWE champion, one of the longest reigning WWE champions in modern history. And because of in my opinion, probably a misdiagnosis of his injuries, and what could easily be explained as a doctor not being very good at their job. Maybe he was. I don't know. But I'm not going to indict the guy as being a bad doctor. I don't know. I'm not a physician myself. But that's clearly conjecture back and forth. And the reality is CM Punk didn't like how he was treated, so he walked away. He gave up all that time and contribution he could have done to the wrestling business because of the issues he was having. You know what? A lot of these bigger, older stars negotiate time off. Heck, John Cena's been gone since WrestleMania with the exception of the Greatest Royal Rumble appearance. And that's fine. WWE negotiates with people. They give them time off. Kane still gets paid, and he's the mayor of a city. It's time for people to stop with the CM Punk chants like he's some demigod of professional wrestling. I love the guy. I love his talent. I love his mic skills. I love all the things he did when he was in the ring. Straight edge, this and that. I love it all. But CM Punk is the one who took CM Punk away from you, not WWE. WWE has had thousands of wrestlers in their time on television, and dozens of them have had serious injuries. Some of them have been undiagnosed properly or misdiagnosed, and those people have found ways to work through their differences and contribute to the business. CM Punk walked away. It's time to move on. It's time for CM Punk either to step up and make a return, or for fans to turn and move on to something new. Finally tonight, Jim Ross finishing up with WWE or Access Television, or maybe both. His contract runs out with WWE at the end of March of 2019. Apparently, WWE is going to block all of his appearances before, leading up to Wrestle Kingdom. So he'll have the last recordings that they're doing in December. After that, he will not be doing Wrestle Kingdom. He won't be doing future shows for the promotion. And it looks like at this point, WWE is trying to keep him from other promotions. Once his contract runs out with WWE in March, maybe we'll see something change then. But as of right now, it looks like Jim Ross is kind of going to be sitting on the sidelines doing a whole lot of nothing in the near future. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects. We use those in every one of our shows. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And at alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all all your classic skee ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of professional wrestling, or go to my blog at frowrestling.com, click on Infro's Corner, and check out my editorial pieces there. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.